Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Ellis Ross's office is set to remain open despite him not running for re-election. Many BC residents are still in need of a family doctor, and the Order of Terrace is back after a near decade-long absence.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Baslin. Here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond for today. The Order of Terrace made its first return for the first time since 2016, with 6 nominations for their contributions to the city. CFTK's Damian Smith has more.
Order tonight's 2024 Order of Terrace Award recipients are Patty Chapman, Lynn Christensen, Marilyn Davies, Bonnie Juniper, Dr. Michael Kenyon, and Carol Leclerc. Let's give these fine folks all around.
For the first time since 2016, the Order of Terrace made its return to Coast Mountain College on Wednesday night, and 6 people from the area received awards from Mayor Sean Buyutash, contributing to growth in the Terrace community. Patty Chapman was awarded for her contributions towards the Terrace Library, where she was chair of the board for 9 years.
Sad she wasn't here today, but really well deserving.
And it was a pleasure to be able to work with Patty on the library board.
Lynn Christensen was the longest serving city councillor and was a big factor in the farmers market.
Very committed on council, very focused on the social issues, the historic issues, the artistic issues and stuff like that. And it was a pleasure to have that opportunity to serve on council with Lynn.
Marilyn Davies, who was a jack of all trades, played a role in music, teaching, performing arts, and also served on the city council.
Just an absolute fierce lady and involved, as it was said today, involved in so many different things between the golf course, the music festival, and starting that with other folks.
And always a really fun sense of humor. Like, she had these one-liners. It's like, my God, I wish I could think that fast like she could.
Bonnie Juniper has been the person for musical influence in the Terrace community for many decades.
I don't ever remember Bonnie not being involved in the music scene in Terrace.
She taught my kids piano, and they're in their late 30s, early 40s, so we're going back 35 years ago for Bonnie teaching my kids.
Dr. Michael Kenyon, though living on Vancouver Island, still maintains a practice here in Terrace and trained many internists in the medical field.
He has touched the lives of many people who've had complicated health issues, and thank God that he's here, because he's a problem solver. He doesn't give up, and he just keeps going after whatever somebody's issue is.
And while the event was emceed by Buyutash, former Mayor Carol Leclerc was nominated, and it was fitting for Buyutash since he took over her role in 2022.
Her words just sit in my head, and it's always Sean, take the high road, and I continue to live by that, and Carol shared that with me. But I think Carol can really hang her hat on the fact that we have a brand new hospital that's just about to open in this community, and it was under her as the mayor of Terrace lobbying hard that got us across the finish line, and we're going to see that new hospital open soon, and thanks to her hard work.
It's just so nice to share this wonderful honor with my family, and I've been able to kind of keep my granddaughters in the loop of things, like kind of inviting them along. So when I got the award tonight, I brought them up with me, because I think it's important for them to have a positive female role model in their lives, and something, being a mayor, they still talk about it. I haven't been mayor for 2 years, so I'm really pleased to be able to know that that's made a positive influence on their life.
From Terrace, I'm Damian Smith.
MLA Ellis Ross won't be running for re-election in the upcoming provincial election, but his office will be staying open for assistance. Here's CFTK's Jaylene Matthews with more information on why.
When the writ drops on September 21st, Ellis Ross will no longer be the Skeena MLA.
So the writ drops on September 21st, and the election is October 19th, which I will not be running in. But the office, we all talked about it and just said, for all the people that still need help with government programs, this office needs to remain open, at least as a transition period, depending on who our next MLA is going to be for Skeena.
And constituents will still have access to services.
Normally what we help with government programs, so if you have issues with, say, ICBC, for example, or Ministry of Highways, or anything to do with a landlord-tenant relationship, anything that's got to do with a government program.
For CFTK News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
According to a recent statement by the BC Deputy Chief Forester, tree farm license number 41, which is located south of Terrace, is set to keep covering 128,000 cubic meters by the allowable annual cut as a way to keep supporting sustainable forestry in the Terrace area. The area mentioned covers the territory of multiple First Nations like the Haisla, Lakwalams, Kitsum-Kaleb, Wet'suwet'en, and the Kittilis. The factors that are said to be a part of determining how much space each licensed area gets includes terrain stability, the harvest area's economic viability, biodiversity, as well as cultural resources. And with the decisions being made, tree farm license number 41 is also set to get 2 new partitions to assist in bolstering the area's forestry sustainability practices by being a deterrent against overharvesting cedar trees. It's a problem still plaguing 700,000 BC residents. They're all still searching for a family doctor. And now with 6 weeks until Election Day, family doctors in BC see now is the time for political parties to weigh in on how they would address the doctor shortage. And as CTV's Rob Buffett reports, they're making a series of demands for whoever forms the next government.
More than 700,000 British Columbians don't have a family doctor.
You want a doctor, you put your name into a online form, and then you wait. We've been waiting 5 years.
The group's BC Family Doctors and the College of Family Physicians are urging doctors and patients to ask the parties what they do to address the crisis ahead of the BC election.
It's going to be a huge issue. I think if they don't bring that up, well, they've missed the boat.
The province's new payment model has attracted more than 800 doctors to family practice, attaching to more than 200,000 patients.
So we've kind of stopped the bleeding, but we need to take care of the wound.
The groups say nearly 40% of family doctors in the province are set to retire or reduce their clinical hours in the next 5 years.
Doctor retired, and I don't know if I can get another one.
To attract and retain more GPs, the family doctors are pushing for reduced paperwork and benefits, including paid sick leave and pensions.
You're technically getting paid by the government. You're technically self-employed, and you have 0 benefits.
This Saanich family doctor says she does between 2 and 3 hours of paperwork every day, and cutting that in half would allow her to see 4 more patients each day.
How much better would it be if I could spend that time caring for patients rather than completing paperwork?
All the parties say they'd support cutting paperwork for family doctors, but differ fundamentally on how privatized the system should be. The BC Conservatives want a hybrid public-private model.
To a universal health care model just like we have today, but delivered by both government and non-government agencies.
We can abandon the progress we're making and go back, or we can go forward and keep hiring more doctors and nurses.
The Greens favor a fully public model.
Conservatives want to open the front door to privatize and corporatize healthcare. The NDP have let that come in through the back door.
For hundreds of thousands of patients, their primary concern remains a doctor's door that's open to them.
Coming up next, a major trial is being restarted after the jury was in a deadlock. Welcome back. She died alone in a homeless camp at just 13 years old of a suspected overdose. There was lots of reactions to a young teen's tragic death. Her parents say they tried to get her help, but were told despite her age she couldn't be forced into treatment. CTV's Michelle Barbaro has more on the issue of involuntary care.
A dirt path leads to a now dismantled Abbotsford homeless camp, and not far from the garbage and discarded needles, flowers mark the place where Brianna McDonald, who just turned 13, died last month.
In a tent by herself. And I think it's like the hardest thing to stomach.
In February, when Brianna was rushed to hospital because of a suspected overdose, her parents say they begged Surrey Memorial to keep her in the youth psych ward because of her addictions and mental health issues, but were told it was their daughter's decision.
They're like, nope, that's her choice, her body, her right. At 12.
It is tragic. It is heartbreaking to hear this story. It is so
The BC
startling.
Conservatives say if elected, they will bring in compassionate intervention legislation to allow involuntary treatment for those at serious risk due to addiction.
We will be looking at putting in an option for involuntary care, especially for children.
The Premier says his government supports the right of physicians to provide involuntary treatment to those who are severely mentally ill, but
healthcare providers need greater support from the province to be able to identify when they're able to use involuntary care provisions to keep people in and provide them with the care they need.
Brianna's parents also say Fraser Health provided their daughter with needles and other drug paraphernalia, as well as pamphlets on how to use safely naloxone kits.
I found her a few times drawing blood from herself with the needles in the Narcan kits because they were bigger needles, and a couple times using them for shooting up.
I am absolutely disgusted. I am disgusted with our system.
Joseph Sikora has spent years trying to help those who are homeless and addicted, and he says BC's harm reduction model is not working.
Now what they have created is community palliative care because they're just keeping the individuals comfortable until they kill themselves and they die.
There is no such thing as a safe way to use a crack pipe. There's no such thing as a safe way to snort cocaine. These drugs are dangerous, and government is actually enabling this.
Sikora says BC needs to decrease hurdles to getting treatment and says it's difficult even for outreach workers to navigate a complex process.
Never mind a person who is hooked on drugs, who doesn't have a phone, who lives in a camp like this.
According to Fraser Health, there are just 20 child and youth treatment beds in the region and 6 detox beds.
Love you. Love you.
Brianna's parents can no longer fight to help their daughter, but say they will keep battling to help other at-risk children. Michelle Brunoro, CTV News, Abbotsford.
Crown prosecutors will retry a man accused of killing a gangster and an innocent teen in 2018. The initial double murder trial of Kane Carter surprisingly ended with a deadlocked jury and the judge declaring a rare mistrial. CTV's Martin McMahon has the latest.
Kane Carter smiled after a mistrial was declared on Tuesday, but a day later he's found out his time on trial isn't over. Carter is accused of killing gangster Kevin Whiteside and 15-year-old Alfred Wong and will be tried again for 2 counts of second-degree murder. The Crown wants to try him again after the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict, even after prompting from Justice Catherine Wedge.
It's very rare for juries in Canada to not be able to reach a verdict and for a mistrial to be declared, especially in criminal cases. Judges have an obligation in jury trials to encourage juries when they indicate that they're having difficulty reaching a verdict, to encourage them to do more to try and reach a verdict.
Crown had argued that Carter, pictured here at Vancouver International Airport before boarding a flight to Toronto a week after the fatal shootings, fired several of the shots from this van, parked south of the intersection of Broadway and Ontario. Prosecutors said Carter was shooting in response to Whiteside firing first at one of Carter's associates, and that one of those bullets hit Wong, who was in the back seat of his parents' car as they drove past. The van was then spotted 45 minutes later on video, driving into the parking garage of a building Carter lived in. Police found bullet casings and gun residue in the van when they found it 4 weeks later. Carter will be back in court next month via video conference, and a new trial likely won't begin until sometime next year. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast is likely to see periods of rain at a low at 13 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area will be home to a chance of showers, plus a low at 10 degrees, and the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should see partly cloudy conditions and their low at 4 degrees. On the north coast, the next week or so will see only rainy and cloudy days, plus a high bouncing between 13 and 15 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the week for them will contain nothing but clouds and rain too, and their high will shift between 12 and 16 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the upcoming week should potentially see some sun, but still include its fair share of clouds and rain too, while the high moves from 14 to 16 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is a special travel advisory: pothole repair, utility work, bridge maintenance, paving operations, construction work, crack sealing, maintenance, fog patches, and the Esk Ferry is out of service due to the low river level. Highway 35 has fog patches. Highway 37 has some maintenance, roadside brushing, and bridge maintenance. 37A has road maintenance work, and there is some construction work on the Nishka Highway. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, a new legacy project is being created to honor Terry Fox. Welcome back. Thousands of people across Canada and around the world will take part in the Terry Fox Run this weekend, raising money for cancer research. As CTV's Norma Reed reports, Terry's hometown of Port Coquitlam and the Fox Foundation also needs the public's help for a new legacy project.
Terry Fox, a Canadian hero whose image lives on, raising over $500 million in cancer research. Now his remarkable story is set to appear on the big screen.
I think it can show the world what a real hero is.
Therapy Content of Los Angeles has spent the last 2 years securing the rights to produce Terry Fox, the feature film. Although his story became a made-for-TV movie, it hasn't had the Hollywood treatment.
But I think that the simplest ideas are always the ones that, when they come alive, people are surprised it didn't happen before.
Slattery says she understands the responsibility that goes along with making a movie about such an incredible Canadian icon. That's why she wants the film to be as historically accurate as possible.
She hopes with some big names attached. Her wish list, Danny Boyle as director. And this man,
I love you,
Anton Yelchin, to play Fox.
To me, I see it a little bit like a Stand By Me. It's a bunch of boys going through this amazing journey together.
But perhaps the best part of the film will be the legacy it too shall leave. With a budget of $10 million, therapy producers hope to earn a profit of $100 million, with all proceeds going to cancer research.
I think it's important, you know, and I'd actually like to have this be a whole line of films that are for nonprofit. I think it's such a powerful medium. We need to use it for good.
Some of that money will come from a Kickstarter campaign that begins April 12th, the anniversary of the beginning of Terry Fox's Marathon of Hope. Norma Reed, CTV News, Vancouver.
Kamala Harris and Donald Trump both claimed victory after the recent U.S. presidential debate. The two sparred over abortion, the economy, and even Trump's crowd size. The former president called it his best performance ever, but others disagree. Here's CTV's Joy Malbon with more.
On the anniversary of 9/11, after the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil, a moment of rare political unity.
Good debate.
Last night, it was anything but. The gloves came off.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. Clearly, he is having a very difficult time processing that.
From Donald Trump's refusal to accept he lost the 2020 election, Kamala Harris's strategy, bait Donald Trump, pushing him on issues like abortion.
For 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the States. And I did something that nobody thought was possible.
The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
Trump repeated false claims that babies are being aborted at birth, prompting the moderator to fact-check him.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Trump tore into Harris as too liberal, linking her to President Joe Biden.
She just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years.
Harris mocking Trump's obsession with crowd sizes in rallies.
He talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go.
And in a bizarre moment, Trump on immigration repeated a false racist conspiracy theory about migrants eating people's pets in Ohio.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
The microphones were muted, facial expressions were not, and when the dust settled, polls suggested that Harris had won. Trump telling Fox News the debate was rigged, and he likely won't do another.
The reason you do a second debate is if you lose, and they lost.
Harris says she's up for another debate, but with less than 2 months to convince undecided voters. For now, both candidates will take their battle back to the campaign trail. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is down 1/100 of a cent. The price of gold is up $38.20. Oil is up $1.66. Natural gas is up 9 cents. Aluminum is up $34. In Toronto, the TSX is up 263.97 points. The Venture Index is up 9.69. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 235.06, and Nasdaq is up 174.15. Still ahead, Selena Gomez released a statement on some heartbreaking news she recently got. Welcome back. Selena Gomez is speaking out for the first time about being unable to carry a child and the grieving process she's gone through due to it. ABC's Ariel Reshev has that story.
Selena Gomez opening up about her future path to starting a family. The singer and star of the hit show Only Murders in the Building getting candid in the October cover story for Vanity Fair, telling the magazine, "I haven't ever said this, but I unfortunately can't carry my own children. I have a lot of medical issues that would put my life and the baby's in jeopardy. That was something I had to grieve for a while." The 32-year-old has given fans a window into her health struggles, including living with autoimmune disease, lupus, something she discussed in her Apple TV Plus documentary, My Mind and Me.
Selena Gomez was diagnosed with lupus, depression, and anxiety.
Everything that I had gone through, it's going to be there.
Doctors say carrying a baby with lupus is possible, but can come with significant risk of complications.
If you have lupus, you have an increased risk for certain pregnancy complications like preeclampsia. Preeclampsia can be very severe in some cases and life-threatening for both the pregnant person and the baby.
Now, Gomez says she's coming to terms with what her journey to motherhood may look like. "I find it a blessing that there are wonderful people willing to do surrogacy or adoption, which are both huge possibilities for me." Gomez looking forward to the road ahead with optimism, saying, "At the end of the day, I don't care. It'll be mine. It'll be my baby."
An enforcement push against alleged drug traffickers by Prince George Mounties resulted in over a dozen charges against 3 people. Police say their investigation in the summer and fall of 2023 showed that traffickers were being supported by drug lines in the Lower Mainland that had ties to BC's gang conflict. Officers served warrants in Prince George and Langley last October and seized a large quantity of illicit drugs, ammunition, and body armor. 2 women and a man faced a total of 13 charges, and the man remained in police custody while the women were released with conditions. That's all of our news for now. From everyone at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thanks for watching.